Hello everyone, welcome back to Alex on Irons, and in today's video I'm going to talk about our academy graduates, our academy players who are on the fringes of being part of the West Ham team. This was inspired by a TikTok/YouTube short that I made about Freddie Potts yesterday, I believe, saying, how I think he's going to become good. I think he just needs a couple of seasons, a season and a half, to really settle in to life as a West Ham player. And I think overall he's actually impressed in his minutes that he's got. And then this morning it was reported by Sky that Earthy is potentially leaving as a free agent at the end of the season. So I just thought I'd do a wider video, and also you guys were so brilliant on the show and on TikTok discussing Freddie Potts in particular. There is a conversation to be had around about our academy players because it's part of our foundation as a club, and we really missed it for a while. After Ben Johnson kind of made his way into the team, we didn't really have that many academy players for a while. I think the next one was probably Divine Mabama, but I could be mistaken. There could be one in there that I've missed. And now we've got quite a few, actually. When you look at it, we've got Ollie Scholes, Freddie Potts, Ezra Mayers. Those are probably the three that grab your headlines. And that's without even talking about other players who are in the under-21s that aren't in our academy, like Mohamed Kante. So what I thought I'd do today is I would discuss who I think will make it at West Ham, who I think won't, and why. And this is not a malicious video, by the way. I hope all our academy players make it at West Ham or have good careers. To be in the Premier League is tough, especially for academy football, and to go on loans and use those loans so brilliantly that you're then able to become a Premier League player is really impressive. I think sometimes as fans we forget how much of a leap the Premier League is compared to any other competition in the world, really. I don't think there's a league that compares to it on the continent. I know the Liga's really strong. I've been watching a lot more La Liga because my partner's Spanish, and it is a good league, but I think that's probably second. Bundesliga's quality as well. Those are the three: Premier League, Bundesliga, and La Liga. Those are the three leagues that I think you can go, these are the top leagues in the world. That's just my opinion. To get to that level, I think is really impressive, and something that, should be seen as a mega achievement, whereas I don't think now, to some football fans, it is. But anyway, guys, before I get into the topic of the video, if you could like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your guys' support has been fantastic, and thank you guys also very much for watching. I'm going to start with Freddie Potts. I think it's the easiest one of the conversation. He'll make it at West Ham. I think he will make it at West Ham, and if not, he will make it in football. I think to let Freddie Potts go would be a major mistake. He's the one player I'm confident will be brilliant because we've seen it. Have we seen it consistently? No. Is he 22? Yes. So this is the... Right, I know he doesn't look it. He's younger than me. I am 24, almost 25 years old. Right? And I can imagine doing that as a regular job as a young adult. Cut this guy some slack, I think, because he's also been... Yes, he made a mistake against Burton getting that red card, but outside of that, has he really played that badly? Yes, you could say Aston Villa in the first half. I think that was more of a tactics issue with Nuno and his team getting that wrong for almost every player on the pitch. That we didn't get the best out of Bowen Fernandes is a major issue. I don't think you just pinpoint that on Freddie Potts. I think it would be wrong to do so. I also think it's important to realise that we've switched the system, which doesn't really allow us to use Freddie Potts. Like, to bring Freddie Potts in, we have to switch everything. That's not me saying that Freddie Potts isn't good enough to play the actual system we've got. It's just because we play two midfielders, we sort of need both of those midfielders to do a lot of the work. And I think Freddie Potts is really good at the defensive side of it, but I don't think we use a midfielder in that role yet. I think Matheus Fernandes is probably the biggest player that we have for that, even more than Souček. I think Souček is great in either box, but in terms of the actual midfield defence work, it is more Matheus Fernandes tracking back. And we don't really need Freddie Potts for that yet, but he's still getting minutes. I really hope this half-time substitution for Freddie Potts isn't him getting taken out of the team permanently, and I actually think he's got a higher ceiling than Magassa. I like Magassa too. I think they're both brilliant. I was kind of worried when we went through the January transfer window, didn't sign a midfielder and let go of Irving, Rodriguez and Paqueta. I was thinking, we're going to be a bit light here. And if we get an injury, probably would be. Luckily, we haven't. But Potts is still really useful to us. I think if we go down, he will be one of the first names on the team sheet. And if we stay up, I think he'll slowly make his way onto that team sheet. You have to remember as well, guys, when we started the season and we had Rodriguez and Ward-Prowse in the lineup, we were begging for Freddie Potts to get minutes. And when he got minutes, he impressed. So I just think it's going to take a little bit of time to adjust to these new tactics. He's a young lad, and he's also quite good. I think Freddie Potts will be a really good player for West Ham going forward if we decide to keep him. Next up, another easy one for me, Ollie Scholes, because he already is. Ollie Scholes is doing brilliantly. Considering what he's been through this season, that mistake against Fulham, I thought, this could break a young player. And ever since then, he's been super solid. Has he had brilliant games consistently? No. But then again, though, he's also very young. This is the issue. I understand there are some players that come along who are young and they are just hit the ground like that, right? But they are very rare. And overall, you know, that's why they are worth hundreds of millions of pounds, euros, whatever, because they are that special. Ollie Scarles has been consistently brilliant since the Fulham mistake, and I would say, before it. Do you remember the time where, as West Ham fans, we were worried about the African combinations because Juff was going? We were like, right, you probably have to rely on Scarles at left back. And during that time, he was superb, to the point where a lot of us were thinking, does Juff immediately get back in? I don't think it's a slight on these Scarles that Juff does get back in, because I think Juff, in the not too distant future, will be one of the best fullbacks in the league. And if he leaves the Premier League, I'm sure he'll be one of the best fullbacks in whatever league he goes to. I just think that is not a slight on Scarles, that we've got someone as talented as Juff. He makes more mistakes. I think Scarles is a lot more of a solid performance. You know what you're getting from Ollie Scarles. I just think he has the X factor of Juff. But also, Scarles is so good defensively. Considering his age, he is so mature in the way he defends. Yes, he's not brilliant going forward. There was that mistake against Man United where he sure just kept running, but he tried to square it to Wilson. But that comes with experience, right? You learn through making mistakes, you learn through failure. And I think we've seen Ollie Scarles do that. He's shown the right attitude to me to go, do you know what? I get what I'm doing wrong. And overall, he's been massively appreciative of Nuno, of Paco. I think we've seen a lot of Ollie Scarles and the brilliance that he has. So if you were to ask me, I think Ollie Scarles will be a great success at West Ham. And if not, he'll be a great success in football. I really do hope we keep him, though. I think he is one of those players that can just be super solid. And sometimes all you need is a great squad player. And in fact, I say Kyle Walker-Peters is that. Like, Kyle Walker-Peters, he's never going to set the world alight, but he's someone I like the fact we got him in the squad. I think Kyle Walker-Peters brings a calmness to the team, which Ollie Scarles as well. When we've got Ollie Scarles at left back, I go, do you know what, he's going to put in a good defensive display today. I'm the same with Kyle Walker-Peters. I think there's nothing wrong with having a player like that. I think sometimes the best players are substitutes. Substitutes are useful in football, and I think having Ollie Scarles as a sub/second choice is really useful. I don't know whether he'll always want to be that. He might want to move. But overall, I think we've got a really handy left-back on our hands. Sticking with the defence, Ezra Mayers. This has been a surprise. And also kind of shown that Nuno would give youth a go, because Ezra Mayers didn't really get a chance before Nuno came in. And when he did get his chance, he took it. Now, I could be wrong, but I think Ezra Mayers' first minutes was at the draw against Brighton. Ever since then, he's just been given little bits of minutes here and there. He's performed well. He's played for us in our cup games and done a brilliant job. I think overall, Ezra Mayers is someone, again, very young, will need more minutes. Probably a loan would suit him just to get him those regular minutes and kind of get him up to speed of playing regular competitive football. But I've been really impressed with his attitude. This kid's 19 and he just doesn't come across that way on the pitch or in interviews. What really works for me as a fan is when you can see a player in the interviews doing a good job. Whether they speak in the media trained way, that doesn't bother me, but when they speak passionately about playing the game, and you get that from Ezra, you always expect when another academy player comes in, especially in the Premier League, they might struggle a bit, but Nuno just threw him in the deep end, which I like. I think that's good from Nuno. It also shows that he's one of those managers that doesn't just say, oh yeah, we need the academy's great, we'll use it, but then never does. Nuno did that. Playing against Brighton as his first proper bits of minutes, it showed that Nuno or Nuno's team looked at the academy and went, this guy, he's got something about him. And Nuno went, all right, we'll give him a go. Same thing for me with Mohamedou Kante. Like, to me, it's the same thing. Nuno has shown that he will use these players. At Scarles, he had no issue using. Like, it just is brilliant. And I think Ezra Mayers, again, has been on a calm head in the defence. Yes, his height is a bit, of a factor that lets him down, but he's got a good leap on him, and I think overall Ezra Mayers is a player that will be useful in the future for West Ham. But it's too early to tell what his ceiling is yet, whether he'll become a regular starter or not, because he's 19 and he's only had little bits and bobs of minutes. But overall, the fact that he's getting those small cameos is testament to his character, I believe, and shows how much the club believe in him. Right, next up for me is going to be Lewis Orford. I don't understand why Lewis Orford hasn't been given a chance. It is kind of worrying, especially when you have a manager that will give players opportunities and then you see Lewis Orford and he doesn't get any. It's weird. I think Orford's decent. I think he went out on loan, just didn't work out, did it? Came back and has just been stuck in the under-21s, but has been doing really well in the under-21s. So it is strange. He did get some minutes against Burton, I believe. but that was way too late in the game for him to really impact it. I think it was literally the last 15 minutes of extra time, or he may have played the whole of extra time. But there is something that, to me, that Nuno doesn't trust him or doesn't believe in his ability to be able to make it. Because even if he wasn't ready yet, I think Nuno would still bring him on the bench to being part of the match day lineups, because he can make an impact. So yeah, it is one of those. I don't really have much to say on Lewis Orford above that. I hope he does make it, because I see the potential. But clearly the guys that are close to the training ground don't, for whatever reason. And that is a worry. I think it's not the nicest thing in the world when you've got a player that you really like at the youth level who's just not getting the time that he deserves. Again, that's just based on my observation. I'm not a football coach. Next up is Caelan Casey, and this one for me, I'm going to urge on the side of no. I don't think Caelan has the stature for the Premier League. This is only based on what I saw in the summer series, and the fact he went to Swansea and didn't really get much going there for him either, and now he's in League One on loan, which, you know, good for him. He's on loan. I think it's at Leyton Orient. I don't know whether he's got it in him yet. Again, this loan could really spark him up and really give him that consistent football that he needs. But for me, it was just his build in the summer series that really worried me. It was what really worried me when we signed Somerville. And luckily, Somerville's been able to, you know, use that his build, his smaller stature to his advantage, which I think you can do if you're a winger. I think you can, you know, draw the fouls in. I think as a centre-back, I just worry for Caelan that he's going to get bullied in the Premier League. I really hope that's not the case. I really hope he does make it, and I really hope he has a good career as a footballer. I just don't see him being used in the Premier League. I just don't see it. I can't see that yet. You know, when you get an academy player and you see the vision. With Caelan Casey, I don't. I really don't. And I'm not happy about it. I'm not sat here, you know, this is not one of those things where I'm like, oh yay, Caelan, not going to make it. But I can't see where he gets those opportunities. I think he'll need to go out and learn to the Championship again next season, give that a go. And if he excels in the Championship, maybe there's a way into the Premier League, because that's what really started Freddie Potts' career. That loan at Portsmouth, and he went, alright, he did it there, let's give him the step up, and it worked, because he had the confidence. I don't know where Caelan Casey's head at is right now. A failed loan in the Championship, having to go down in League One. Now playing regular minutes, so hopefully he's beginning to get that confidence back. But for me, if you had to ask me today, I don't think Caelan Casey makes it at West Ham. Next up, we're going to talk about Preston Fearon. Oh, this is a player that just needs a loan. It's too early to tell. I was really impressed with him in the summer series. Graham Potter clearly liked him. Not seen much from him since. Obviously very young. Just get him out on loan. I think that's the thing for him. At the 21 levels, he's doing okay, playing well. Get him out on loan, see what he can really do. He needs regular minutes before we can even start really discussing his future in the Premier League, at West Ham, at the top level, because you don't really learn enough about a player's mentality. You can see the skill, you can see the blueprint. Until you learn what they can do across a regular competitive season, you don't know if they're ready for the Premier League yet. And I don't think Preston Fearon's at the level of Nesri Meyers where you can just chuck him in and just see if it works. I also don't think that the midfield is an area that we can experiment with too much either. So I'd say loan him out and just hope, you know, maybe give him a Championship, maybe a League One loan. He's obviously still a younger lad. He's got years to go out on loan and still try. So I would say get him out on loan and just see what you can do. Next up for me is Callum Marshall, who's currently on loan out at Bochum in Germany, the second division, and it's been a bit of a rough loan for him, isn't it? He's got a couple goals here and there. He's getting regular minutes, but just not really putting it all together. So I'm now going, he might need a domestic loan next season to put him in the Championship. Give him the Freddie Potts treatment. Put him in the Championship. If you can get him a Championship role, give him that. Let him learn the Championship, because I think the Championship is the best blueprint for a younger player in terms of will they make it in the Premier League. I think it's good for him to go out and get some experience on the continent. I think it has worked for players like Ethan Ampadu, for example, who is now the captain of Leeds United. But you also need to have experience in England, which I don't think we've really given him yet. I know he had a couple of loans here and there. He went out to Huddersfield and he's done that. But I think give him another loan in the Championship, because he's had a rough year. He's 21, so he's on the precipice of, okay, he needs to start kicking on now, and I really hope that is at West Ham, but I just don't see him getting involved in West Ham if we stay up, because I think we also have Pablo Tatti and Callum Wilson, if not another striker. That makes Callum Marshall fifth choice. Get him out on loan again, see what he can do, and hopefully he'll become part of West Ham. But for now, I just don't see that he's ready yet, and for me, I'd go, do you know what? Time's running out. I hope he does make it at West Ham, because he's shown moments of brilliance. And last but not least is George Earthy. This one sucks, right? This is just a difficult one for me. I see the vision with George Earthy. He's had a terrible couple of injuries, and long-term injuries as well, not even just little nicks. We're talking proper, he's out for a couple of months. He's still a young lad. He's sort of in the Callum Marshall mould where he sort of needs to get started with his career now. It's sort of the time is running out for him to be looked at as a proper academy player. I would trigger the extension if we're in the Premier League. I'd certainly trigger it if we're in the Championship. I'd actually give him a chance. I'd have him on the bench. I think he's the perfect kind of bench player for West Ham at the minute, and just give him 10-15 minutes into games, see whether he can get involved in an attack or two, give him that confidence, because we saw it when he scored the goal in the Premier League. I think it was against Luton Town, how much it meant to him. He's clearly just been hampered by injuries. He was loved at Bristol City. He's gone back on loan at Bristol City. It's not really worked out for him, bless him. And yeah, he just seems like a player who's stunted on confidence. I do think if he becomes a free agent, he will have numerous amounts of people after him, and I do think that's why we should at least trigger the extension, which I know is the thought process of a lot of West Ham fans. But yeah, it's a tough one to take, this George Earthy, because I really think he would make it. I thought Freddie Potts this season would be a major part of the team, especially because they did a photo shoot for the third kit, which I know in terms of media that doesn't really equate to being on the football pitch, but it showed how the club viewed George Earthy. They saw him as an asset, a face in the squad. So for me, I thought, okay, this is George Earthy due to kick on, got injured. Nuno would bring him up in press conferences as well. He'd be like, yeah, George is out, which showed that he thought George was part of the squad. Obviously, Nuno thought, do you know what, with Mateus Fernandes being as good as he is, I just don't see you being in the squad as much. We'll send you out on loan. And unfortunately, it's not worked out either. Bristol, signed some other players in that position, and it's knocked George down the pecking order there, which means that he's now sort of in this crossroads point, similar to Callum Marshall. But the issue is, I would say that Earthy's shown better signs in the Premier League in his very limited appearances than I'd say Callum Marshall has. So I give Earthy a go in the Premier League, and I'd let Marshall go on loan. I'd also say that Earthy had a much more successful loan spell at Bristol the first time round than Marshall has ever had in any of his loans, but I'm sure some people probably will tell me that's wrong, because I cannot remember how well the loans were in the Championship. So what I would say is Earthy, I would like to make it, but I'm now leaning on the side of I don't think he will, which sucks, because I really thought George Earthy would be a proper player for us, and it just turns out that he hasn't really hit that stride yet that we all know is in there. But more importantly, guys, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below, and please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel. It has been great making content again, and I can't wait to keep bringing content to you guys. Also, if you guys want me to make content about a particular topic, let me know in the comments, because this international break, in terms of coming up with ideas for videos, it's been really tough. It's not been the easiest. Obviously I had the first video, which was the predictor, so let me know in the comments if you have any opinions on what topics you want me to cover. I'll see you guys on the next video. Take it easy, and bye.